Everyone, thanks for tuning in and stopping by the Make It Click podcast. I'm your host, Willson Cross, CEO and co-founder of Borderless AI. Today, we have a really epic guest. Andrew Wilkinson joins the show today. Andrew is the co-CEO of Tiny, and he's also started 40 plus other businesses. Tiny owns and operates over hundreds of millions of annual revenue. We're doing this live in Victoria, BC, where he's headquartered and I love to be. So it's going to be a fun show. Andrew Wilkinson, thanks for joining, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Really appreciate it.
Great to be
Thanks
here.
so much. You're always in Victoria?
Most of the time. I don't really enjoy travel very much. So when it's cold, I'll go away. But otherwise, I'm mostly here.
Where do you go?
I love to go to Maui.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got one hotel I love, and I'm like a creature of habit. I've been going there for 20 years. Oh, wow. My girlfriend gets very annoyed because I won't go anywhere else. But
yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Of course.
I was saying, this is like a new endeavor, the podcast, and it's kind of like everybody I want to do coffee with, or like do that coffee chat thing. I don't do that. I'll just try and invite them here. Mm-hmm. So throughout the year, that's kind of what this is looking like. So we got a few good guests banked already, but obviously super excited to do this. I was catching up with a mutual connection, and it sounds like you're really into pickleball. Mm-hmm. Is that your thing?
I'm obsessed. Yeah.
How's that going?
Good. I play like 3 times a week. I was trying to build. You're a tennis player, I think.
Yeah. That's why I bring it up, because I thought you were a tennis guy. So I had this whole thing set up for you on the tennis front, but then I heard about the pickleball hobby. So if I get your address, there's a pickleball. But go ahead.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to build a tennis court on my property and I couldn't fit.
Yeah.
So I was like, I guess I'll do a pickleball court. And I'd never really played pickleball before. And so I did it. And now I'm just completely obsessed. Like I play 3-4 times a week, and it's the best.
Was the pickleball court built before you got into it?
Yeah. I was like, I know I'll like it, basically.
Yeah.
But I find pickleball is the great equalizer. Like if you and I played tennis, I'm much worse than you. So you would kick my ass. Whereas if we played pickleball, you'd probably still kick my ass, but we'd both enjoy it. Yeah. Whereas I wouldn't enjoy the tennis. It would just be miserable for me. So I find you can play with old, young, skilled, unskilled. I played with a guy who's like top ranked tennis player, age 50. And he can kick my ass, but it's like we can still play.
Totally. Victoria guy?
Yeah.
First name start with an H?
Hannes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like my neighbor. He lives
Victoria's
nearby.
Very small.
Yeah.
And he's into venture. What's your, like, I like to have you kind of describe your story, but can you give it, because there's so much going on. There's Dribble, there's Pixel Union, there's kind of the roots in Victoria, then obviously Tiny. Can you just, like, if lots of folks know you, and if you're on the internet, you would have to have an internet connection to be watching this eventually. And if you're on the internet watching some sort of podcast thing, they probably know who you are. But if you could just give a little bit of a sense of like what you've done, who you are, what you're running right now, what the day-to-day is.
It's funny. I did a interview 2 days ago with my old boss. When I was 19, I worked in a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. And so my boss, Sam Jones, awesome guy. And I sat down and did a podcast, and it was interesting to think back to it because that's where I started. I was a college dropout. I was always into computers and stuff, but I had gone to journalism school in Toronto and I hated it. Dropped out.
Hated Toronto or hated journalism?
Both. I mean, Toronto is freezing, right? I was like, why would anyone live here when they could live in BC?
Totally.
I like Toronto now, but it's better when you have money.
Totally.
Not a good place to be a broke student when it's -10.
Fair.
But anyway, I moved back home. I was working as a barista trying to figure out my life. And these 2 guys, Jeff and Chris, kept coming in, and they would just sit there all morning on their laptops working. Mm-hmm. And eventually I was like, what do you guys do? Don't you have jobs? And they said, well, we just basically walk into local businesses and we sell them websites. So they would just make websites for small businesses. And they told me how much they were making. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't want to be the guy making the coffee. I want to be the guy drinking it in the cafe on my headphones, chilling.
Yeah.
That sounds way better. And so I started basically read a bunch of books, and then I started walking into local businesses. And I walked into a pulled pork barbecue joint. The guy said he'd pay me $500, and it was like magic. There we go. That's my career. And that was the thing that snowballed and started everything. And so I started working with tiny little companies, and then bigger and bigger and bigger. And over time that turned into, Google and Walmart and Slack and Uber and all sorts of amazing companies. And then I decided I was a genius. I'd had all this success, so I should start more businesses. And I started every stupid business you could imagine. I started a skincare business, cat furniture company, online DJ school, you name it. And I lost all my money doing all those things, was utterly humbled. And I realized starting companies is really hard. And so in about 2013 or so, I shut down most of them. And then I sold one of my businesses that was doing well. And I had a really bad experience selling the business. It was like when you're a founder, your business is like your child. Totally. And you're giving it to a step parent. And then I was on the board and I watched them. It felt like they were abusing my child, And I hated that experience. And so when I read about Warren Buffett and I heard about how he would buy these businesses and just leave them alone and let the founder keep running them or hire a CEO, I went, why is nobody doing this for small tech companies like mine? And so I started Tiny with my business partner, Chris, and we've been buying businesses for the last 13 or 14 years. And our best known ones are AeroPress, Letterboxd, Serato. Usually I just kind of follow my interests. So I love film. So we buy Letterboxd, social network for film. I was a barista. I love coffee. AeroPress. I used to DJ very poorly. Serato. So for me, it's been a really fun journey of just kind of following my passions and then seeing what comes up.
Interesting. And that first design agency where you go into the pulled pork place, is that still an active company?
Yeah, MetaLab.
Okay, exactly. And
much bigger now.
Exactly. Would that be kind of the company that springboarded everything else?
That was the golden goose.
Got it. And walk me through kind of like how Tiny relates to MetaLab, how big they are, just a little bit of numbers around the scale. Because some people, they'll hear this and they won't necessarily know the scale. And it's pretty big scale, very quick scale. And not venture-backed scale or venture-fueled scale. But can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, I remember I read this book, Rework by Jason Fried. They're the guys who made Basecamp. And they were kind of the contrarian anti-VCs. They were all about profit. And because I'd started a business in Victoria and there was no venture capital and it was an agency, to me that was very logical. Of course a business should be profitable. And so we never raised any money. We never really used any serious amount of debt until a couple of years ago. And for the most part, we just compounded the cash flows. And so today, the businesses we own probably do over $250 million a year of revenue, $40 million, $45 million of EBITDA, somewhere in that range. And then separately, I also ran, when I was taking dividends out of the business before we started Tiny, and for a couple of years after, I ended up taking a lot of money out and starting a family office, which is just a douchey rich person way of saying a personal holding company. And so I've invested in about 150 startups, real estate, stocks, all sorts of other stuff. So there's this huge collection of 40 or so businesses and operating companies under various umbrellas.
Yeah, totally. Cool. That's dope. I think a lot of founders who probably most folks watch this that are kind of in tech and they're a founder, want to be a founder, investor. They probably, at least, so I'm 33. When I was like 21, I still go back and forth on this. It's like the only way to get rich is be born in 1968 and own real estate, or start a venture-backed startup. That was like and I still go back and forth on that. But you didn't really do that. You took a different path. However, you do have a lot of exposure to the value way of thinking, obviously, through your clients and obviously direct investments you've made. Given that you didn't take that path, you took, maybe call it more of a cash compounding dividend track. When would have you said you, like, in your opinion, got wealthy, became rich? Was that in your 20s, and how?
So within about 2 or 3 years, I was making about $100,000 a month of profit. And so to me,
And that was MetaLab.
that's crazy rich. You know, like
totally.
people often, I'll talk to a young entrepreneur and they'll say something like, I want to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
And I go like, well, why?
Yeah.
You know, what do you possibly want to spend all that money on? Because to be a billionaire, you know, you're making, 40 million, 50 million, 60 million a year of profit.
Yeah.
What is it in your life that requires that?
Yeah.
You know, do you want to buy 12 houses? Is that going to make you happy? Do you want to buy a Gulfstream G650? All these things that are not actually what people want. What they really want is freedom of time, the ability to buy a great house, great car, go on nice vacations.
Yeah.
And the reality is you just don't need that much money to do that. And so for me, when I hit even $20,000 or $30,000 a month, which is a lot of money of profit, I was like, I'm rich. Yeah. This is amazing. Yeah. And I would say that the bigger the numbers have gotten, my life has not gotten any better. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's gotten worse. Yeah.
How so?
Well, I just think money makes things complicated. Yeah. You know, money, when people, especially when people know you have money, you have to question people's intentions with you. You've got a lot of people
totally different
wanting things from you. You have people seeing you as a payday. Yeah. You have crazy people, so security concerns, all sorts of stuff. And then you got to manage this burdensome thing, right? Having a large amount of money is actually incredibly stressful because when you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. When you have something, you have something to lose, and you obsess over that if you're not careful. Totally. It's, I don't know. So when I think when you talk to almost any entrepreneur, they always say, I miss the good old days. And I miss the first 3 or 4 years or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I always use this analogy of if I loved chopping wood in my backyard and I just did it for fun. And then my neighbor popped his head over the fence and said, hey, would you chop me a cord of wood? I'll pay you $100. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, like suddenly my passion equals a business. Yeah. And so I hire you and we're buddies and we're chopping wood side by side. We drink a cold beer at the end of the night. We laugh our heads off. It's a blast. Yeah. Flash forward 20 years and you wake up and you're in a sawmill and you're in a little office watching over the automated sawmill and you're just doing spreadsheets while the air conditioning blows down your back. Is that better? Is that a better life? Like, no, the chopping wood is awesome. Yeah, right. Totally. So I think like there's this kind of interesting paradox.
Your biggest advantage, I think, reading about you and stuff has been age. Got started really early. And there's not a lot of substitute for that. So just maybe talk me through the age piece and when you kind of realized you wanted to go this more Buffett route of reading every day, tinkering, and not really being in all team meetings.
Well, I would say Morgan Housel has this great line. He says, I'm going to butcher it, but he basically says, people think they want to get rich and what they actually want is respect and friendship, right? And I think a lot of young, especially young men have this vision where, they're going to become a billionaire or, build some massive company and then X, right? And then, they've watched too much Entourage. They're like, oh, I'm going to be Vinny Chase on Entourage the moment I become a billionaire. Yeah. The reality is that all the things that those often somewhat broken and sad people want is free. It's free to be loved by friends and have a great community and be respected by having integrity or being interesting or whatever it is. And so I think a lot of people just have this they have it wrong. And I think people project a lot onto their jobs. So when I talk to people that are, let's say like I talk to a 20-year-old and they say, I really want to be a corporate lawyer. Mm-hmm. And I say, oh, why? Mm-hmm. They'll often be like, well, I mean, it's a great job and I watch Suits and, or they've watched Law and Order, or they have some sense of what being a lawyer is. But
Or
whenever
their uncle might be a lawyer or
yeah,
something.
but then I asked them, oh, you must really love paperwork. You must really love meetings, paperwork, and email.
Yeah. This
And
is
you
what I'm
must
getting
really
at.
love detail.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, no, I don't like those things.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm just like, okay, well, you're working towards this thing that is not going to deliver what you want. And I think for me, my path was I started so many businesses. And in the early days, I would just constantly ask myself, why am I not good at running businesses? I can start them, but I can't take them further. I got bored very quickly. I want to start a new thing. I have shiny object syndrome. And so I'd read all these management books, Good to Great or Seven Habits of Highly Effective Teams or whatever it is. And I'd whip myself. I'd be thinking, why can't I do this? And then over time, the only way that I could actually run a business, I realized, was via other people. And so I gave up on that. I realized I can't do that. I'm not capable of
the
that.
day-to-day.
I can't do the day-to-day. I can't do the detail. I'm not a detail-oriented person. I'm good at finding signal and opportunity and reading and absorbing a lot of information. And then I get really excited about an idea and I laser focus for 3 months and then I'm just done. And so now I know I have ADHD, but I didn't know that at the time.
Interesting.
And so the only way I could be successful, the only projects and companies that had worked were I would start it and then I'd find a really, really good number 2 diligent person and they would run the business. And so over time, we moved from a model of me and Chris just being chaos agents and starting businesses to hiring professional CEOs, incentivizing them and leaving them alone. And it started working.
Okay.
But now, I've realized this about myself. I just didn't know what it was.
Interesting. That's huge. And you just when did you figure that out?
A year and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was doing a memory test. I go to this longevity doctor and they do an annual kind of memory test or whatever. And I did my first one and the neurologist goes, your working memory is 15th percentile. You are really terrible with working memory. Your long-term memory is good. You remember the things you want to remember, but your working memory is terrible. And that usually indicates ADHD. And I was like, that's bullshit. ADHD is I'm not that doesn't resonate for me. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. And then I started reading about it and I was like, oh my God, every single symptom, I have this. And so I took the medication, I took Vyvanse, and I remember I took it and I cried because I was like, oh my God, my brain was Times Square. And now it feels like a library. It feels calm inside and I don't feel impulsive. Wow. And so for me, it's been transformative and it's really reduced my anxiety and I just feel so much better.
Wow. Yeah. So, if you look at all the online media on you, podcasts, stuff people write, it's very business slanted. It's all business, not a lot of health slanted. But that might have been, the health piece might have been the breakthrough, as you mentioned, to future past business success. How do you strike the balance? Because the ADHD piece can be a competitive advantage, right? It can be, right? So you don't want to, or maybe some people would argue, you don't want to shut it off completely. How do you kind of strike the balance?
It's a hard question because I can't go back in time and give myself medication and know what that would be like. What I can say is that I've started businesses since and I've been able to execute a lot of things that are very short term where I see an opportunity and jump on it since doing that. But what I would say is most people are driven to entrepreneurship because they're broken in some way. Now that could be parents that abused them or a teacher that told them they couldn't do it or some way they're looking for
chip on their shoulder.
They're looking for the world's love. They need the world's love in some way. And I think a piece of that can be a biological thing, right? So for me, my anxiety, I would have such bad anxiety and I would tell myself that it's because my business isn't big enough. I have anxiety in here because, I don't have the right employees or I don't have the right business or, my partner doesn't get me or whatever it is. And by medicating myself, I've been like, oh, no, it was in here. It's a little bit like travel, right? Do you ever talk to someone and they're like, oh, I hate it here and I want to move to Europe.
I just need to go to Mexico for a week. I just need to get my brain right.
And it's your brain comes with you. That's the problem.
Yeah, totally. You obviously your book's great.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have you sign it later.
Sure.
Thank you. But your emails are really dope. And on January 13th of this year, 2026, you did an email and it said "Divorce is awesome," I think was the title. Great read. I think truly kudos to you on being like super, what's the word, just vulnerable to like the absolute world. I don't know, it's like 30,000 subscribers or something like that, but like many people forward and whatever and read it or screenshot, and somebody pinged me, was like, yo, look at this title, his emails are really good. I read the whole thing. I read it twice. Happily married and stuff like that, but more or less I'm trying to get at the point of like the being vulnerable, but maybe walk me through that email, why you sent it. And then also I want to get back to the ADHD thing, because you mentioned a drug in that email that has also been transformative. But can you just walk me through that? Because very strong email. Maybe I'll pause there.
So I do a lot of forum groups.
Yeah.
So it's basically like, the way I look at it is it's like men's therapy.
Yeah.
But if I went to a group of men and I said, do you want to do group therapy with me? Most of them would say no.
Mm-hmm.
And so you trick them. You tell them it's a business group.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go in and you share personal, family, business, highs and lows. And over time, what happens in a group of men as they get comfortable and it's confidential and everything else is they start talking about their marriage and relationships and how they feel about their life and all the other stuff. And I've been doing these groups for 22 years now, and I've seen...
How old are you?
I am 40. So I've been doing them for a really long time, maybe since I was 19, so maybe 21 years. And I have been amazed by how miserable some people are in their marriages and how long they will stay in them. And I would also say that I've observed a phenomenon where my divorced friends were the happiest.
Yeah.
And so, I was at the time, I was not happy in my marriage about 5 years ago. And, I did a lot of thinking about it and ended up separating, but I realized there's this like bizarre, fetishization of marriage where it's like this sacred thing and you cannot break it to the point where somebody can be in an abusive or miserable relationship and still stick with it because they worry about what their friends will say or whatever it is. And so I have said that for years. I'm one of the happy divorce guys, right? Like I got out and I was like, this is great. Like, hey, we're unhappy. Now we're separate. We're co-parents. It's all good. Like for me, that was really positive. And so I quietly to all my friends said what I wrote in that piece, that look, if you're unhappy, you should separate. If you love your marriage and you're great, then hell yeah. But if you're not, nothing can make you more miserable than being in an unhappy marriage. And so I don't know, just decided to actually write it. And it was my most popular email of all time.
Wow.
And it was so funny because
and what stats do you kind of hedge and look at?
Oh, just the number of opens and all that stuff. It's just like everything was off the charts. But I got many.
Subject line was epic.
It was a really good subject line, but there was like, there was like gossip around town or people got upset about it, but so many people emailed me directly and were like, thank you. No one else is saying this. I've never heard someone say this because I think divorce is considered this great evil. You can be a boyfriend, girlfriend for 10 years and you say you separated and everyone's like, cool. Like that's right on. Let's go out.
Or you can be business partners with somebody for 10 years and wrap it up.
It doesn't make sense. But if you say I'm getting divorced, forgetting kids, if you just say you're getting divorced, people are like, oh my God,
I know.
Did you try? Did you go to therapy? It's like, it's this bizarre thing as if your gut doesn't know that you're not happy. I love sharing stuff like that. And I find a lot of business people, they're very one-dimensional and they'll share they're like, I'm a business person and therefore I can't do anything outside of that box because it'll freak the people out. I have investors, we were a public company. And it's like, for a long time, I'd be like, okay, I've got to be Mr. Value investor, Warren Buffett guy, which I am, but I've got other pieces and I want to share that stuff. So for me, it's resulted in some friction
Yeah.
And, you know, some people criticizing me, but for the most part, it's meant I just connect with so many more people.
Yeah. You know, you send out this email, off the charts, whatever. It's pretty deep and personal email, for sure. 30 plus email subscribers, all that fun stuff. And you mentioned kind of, it sounds like for a second in your brain, you know, I have a public company, you got optics. You also, I think in that email or somewhere, you said like the cost or the downside of people pleasing or something.
Mm-hmm.
How do you kind of, because that's something personally I used to early in my career be super optics based, like so crazy that I wouldn't tell an investor I have a girlfriend or something, right? Like I wouldn't like say I don't or I do. I just would withhold because I just, you know, I just want to be like, I just want to raise the round and get that done without people thinking I'm distracted. You know what I mean? And you're kind of nodding. It sounds like you know what I mean. But and that's like really the people pleasing syndrome and the optics syndrome. How have you gotten kind of out of that, or are you out of that?
So I don't know, for some reason, ever since I was a little kid, I felt like other people's feelings are my responsibility. So if I'm in a group of people and we don't have a good time, I'm like, oh my God, it's because I wasn't funny enough, or I wasn't engaging enough, or whatever it is. And so I think that just over time transformed to, you know, when you have a public persona and you're online, you are not wanting to let people down and wanting to be a certain way, and not wanting to be criticized. You know, everybody wants to be liked.
Totally.
And so there's this really dangerous, I think, quote from Warren Buffett. And he said, which is true, but he says, it takes 50 years to build a reputation and 15 minutes to lose it, which is true, right? It's like you know, build whatever reputation you want for 50 years, you get in the Epstein files, boom, you're done, right?
Done. You were in the Epstein files.
I was in the Epstein files. He got a Twitter notification about one of my tweets, but that was another one of my email subject headers.
Which one did better? That would be an interesting.
That was a good
chart.
one too. But yeah, fortunately, not, to be clear, not in the actual Epstein files. But Epstein weirdly was really into AeroPress.
Oh, interesting.
So weird. Great endorsement. Not the spokesman I was hoping for. But anyway. But Warren Buffett has that quote, and I really took it to heart. And I just thought, okay, I can never upset anyone. I want to make sure I'm totally consistent. I sit in my box. And over time, I just felt really miserable. I mean, it's like when you think about it, it's like there's certain types of, there's like this Machiavellian life, right? Where let's say that you're dating and you go on a date with a girl and you're like, okay, I'm not going to show any weakness. I'm going to show only alpha male qualities. I'm going to say I'm going to say like, oh, I love my mother and I'm a great son and I want to travel and I'm very fit and all those things, right? Yeah, it's possible that girl falls for that and whatever. I would argue that you're going to have a lot more success in relationships and friendships and all relationships in life if you're just honest and you show your center, right? And so I think, like, you know, if you did a multivariate test and you took the same guy and in one he's posing and fake and making shit up and wearing a mask, and then the other he goes on the date and he says, yeah, you know, I've got a really challenging relationship with my dad and you know, work is hard right now, right? But you're a good person and funny and all the other stuff. I would argue that you're going to have a much more successful date and you're going to have a better relationship. And I think that carries through everything in life. I think, like, if people don't like that I talk about, you know, ADHD or whatever in my newsletter, like, I don't want them as an investor. I don't want them as somebody I want to do business with, because that's kind of almost anti-human. It's like they expect the founder to just be like a robot that is obsessed with shareholder value to the, you know, and ignores everything else in their life. Right.
Interesting. Would you, you know, you have shareholders because you have a public company. The advice you'd give to, like, an entrepreneurial, somewhat technical, now everybody can be technical with vibe coding, but, you know, under 25-year-old wanting to go do something ambitious entrepreneurially, would you tell them to, like, go raise venture, do a startup? Like, are you anti VC, anti investor, anti shareholder?
No. I think if you talked to me when I was 20, I would give, it's kind of like, people who believe in communism when they're 20, and then over time they kind of start realizing like, oh no, it's more nuanced, right? Maybe they're still lean that way, but it's far more nuanced. Sure. And I think, if you use a bakery analogy, if you want to start a bakery and it's going to require $300,000 and you don't have $300,000, you need an investor.
Exactly.
And so if your ambition requires $300,000, go raise the money.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, and you can do it by yourself and bootstrap it, you're way better off raising money later. And now let's say you start the bakery and you bootstrap it, or you get a loan from your parents or something like that, and you go viral on TikTok for some croissant you make or something. Yeah. And there's a line out the door and you're going, oh my God, I only have one oven. Yeah. I need 2 more ovens. Sure. Yeah, you should go to the bank. Yeah. You should go to VCs or whatever the source of capital is. And so I think Tim O'Reilly has a great quote. He says, when you go on a road trip, you're not obsessed with gas. You need it, but you're not obsessed with it. And I think I meet a lot of founders who are obsessed with gas.
Interesting. And you've met a lot of founders. You're an investor. How many angel? You don't make like venture. You don't have a venture firm. You have a family office. You make angel investments out. How does that all play out?
So I over the last 20 years, I've invested in about 150 startups, ranging in size. So, we're early investors, not super early, but 10 years ago in SpaceX, and some big companies like that, as well as just like I'd meet a random founder and give them 100 to 250,000. And so I've done that as a hobby, basically. Yeah. And the way I look at that is, that's like gambling in Las Vegas. You go, you play roulette. And then what I do for a living, buying businesses where we're buying the whole thing and putting in a CEO, that's like playing poker. Yeah. If you know the odds and you know how to play poker properly, you have an actual advantage and you can consistently make money. And so my venture portfolio is like, I don't know if I'm an idiot or a genius. 20 years in, I've had a lot of nice exits, but I've also invested in a lot of companies that are dumpster fires, and it takes a very long time to know whether or not you're doing in venture. And I think that's part of the problem with it. It is kind of gambling. Yeah. And my advice to any founders are always like, when they have a windfall, they're like, oh, I want to pay it forward. I want to invest in founders, and they get venture. Yeah. It's the worst thing to do with your money. Yeah. It will not give you what you seek. What you seek is comfort and calm. It doesn't give you that.
Yeah. When and those are angel investments?
Mostly.
Andrew Wilkinson wires me money. Yeah. Like I'm in 6 million safe, like a 200K on a 6 million safe note.
Sure. Stuff like that. I mean, some of them are larger. Some of them are up to like 2 million. I also have a bunch of like positions where I'm in LP and venture funds or private equity funds and that sort of thing. But for the most part, it was just meet the founder, like them, give them money, or I have a friend who's doing something and I'll go along with it. But I'll tell you, when I got divorced and I had a liquidity crisis where I was like, how the hell am I going to make these big divorce payments? Sure would have preferred to own a bunch of stocks. Yeah. And I would have, if I just put all that money in the stock market in an ETF, I would have like 4 times the amount. And maybe I'll get 4 times the amount over 30 years, maybe, but it's going to come in trickles.
So you can't call the capital.
And I can't margin it. I can't get a loan against it. Yeah. The bank doesn't understand it. I can't do anything with it. Yeah. And so I regret actually doing a lot of that startup investing, because it makes you feel kind of like, oh, cool, I was in the first round of XYZ company, but like it's a very, very illiquid way of investing.
Yeah. Totally. What's your best angel investment?
SpaceX.
Okay, that's right. And after that?
I had one, it was so dangerous. The first company I ever invested in, I put 25 grand in. I got 500 grand or $1 million back. And it happened in like 2 years. And so that was the taste where it's like, it's like if you do a dumb thing, like you walk into Vegas and the first bet you make, you bet $1,000, you make 100 grand. You're like, this is the best. I got to do more of this, right? You don't realize that you're lucky. And so did really well on my first one. There's been a bunch, to be honest. Most of where I've been successful has been things where I've incubated them and then been the kind of key investor. So it's like, I'll put up the capital, I'll start it. And then I'll let it go. So like we started a business called Supercast, which does, do you listen to Peter Attia or any of that stuff?
A little bit, yeah.
Huberman.
Yeah.
We power the subscription,
Okay.
the paid podcast element of that.
Okay.
And we just sold that business. And that was a great return, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I go back to over and over again, like starting a business that's actually profitable.
Yeah.
And doing something simple.
Yeah.
That has delivered way more results than
Yeah.
all the random venture investments.
Yeah. So if somebody said, hey, you can't make any more angel bets ever again,
I would be very happy because
like,
it would be like someone's taken away my like dangerous toys, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And do you do any real estate?
A little bit. I own a few buildings. I've done stuff in the past. I used to own our office. For the most part, though, I don't like real estate. I think real estate is a great way to have rich kids.
Yeah.
Which I don't want. I don't want my kids to be rich.
And how many kids do you have? Two.
And I'm about to have a third.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats. Awesome. And what's your kind of perspective? How has it changed in business? How you want to raise them based on wealth and like start? Like I always thought, like I never want my kid to be a founder. Like I do not wish that upon anyone. So like if I was to have kids, which I'd like to, probably don't want them to do, and if I ever got wealthy, which I'm not, I would probably not want them to be exposed to that. What's your kind of take? Because some people are like very laissez-faire. They're like, yeah, I got money. Like kids can do whatever they want. I mean, they turn out fine.
So Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have two opposing views. Buffett says, you want to give your kids enough that they can do something, not enough they can do nothing, right? Mm-hmm. But he's not a big advocate of giving children large amounts of money. Charlie Munger says, if you don't give it to them, they'll hate you. Yeah. So, and he's giving all his money to his kids.
Yeah.
The way I am approaching it is basically going to my kids and saying like, look, there's a lot of people in the world who need our money more than we do. Yeah. And so it's all going to be given away to charity by the time I die. And you're going to be taken care of. You're going to get like Social Security Plus, right? You'll be able to maybe have a down payment for a house. And
that's
if
huge.
you ever fall off the employment wagon, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to have like dynastic wealth or anything like that because I think it'll make them miserable. I think it's like if we think about it, capitalism, it's like capitalism says that being successful is like making money and like starting a business or being a successful employee or whatever that is. So, and whether we like that or not, that's kind of what society is right now. And so if you do the equivalent, let's say that we just take that as, and we use an analogy, we say that it's winning Olympic gold, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine if society was instead about winning Olympic gold. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think being rich and giving your kids all the money is like giving them a gold medal when they didn't do anything. Yeah. They need to go and actually build something themselves. Otherwise they'll be miserable.
And a lot of the advantage you could probably give them is like not cash, like connections, network, intro, career opportunities. Anyways, I hope to be able, if I was to have kids, that's what I would hope to do. And you're in Victoria full time?
Yep.
Think it's a good place to raise kids?
It's an amazing place to raise kids, mostly because it's very beautiful and safe and all the other stuff, but it's also, there's not a lot of status here.
Yeah.
If you drive a Ferrari in Vancouver, that's like, okay.
Yeah.
If you drive a Ferrari in Victoria, you're going to get the middle finger and you look like a douche.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah. Do you have a Ferrari?
No, I don't. I have a Tesla and I have one car and I don't like flashy cars. I had that phase. I bought like a, 911 turbo and would drive around, but it's like, I think usually when I see people driving cars like that, I just feel sad for them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, like, you really need the world to know you have money.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like when you meet really rich people, you realize like they mostly wear hoodies and like Casio watches and they're not trying to show off.
Yeah.
Right. It's the like in between people where they really, really want you to know.
I think that you get that with self-made people. Like there's a lot of people that are like super wealthy and they've done a lot of good stuff, but they really were born on third.
Yeah.
Like running very fast. So they might have a bit of that flair. Mm-hmm. You said buildings, you own any restaurants?
I own a bunch of restaurants.
Okay.
Just as a for fun thing, mostly just to kind of keep the so I started a pizzeria and bar in 2015, lost a lot of money.
In Victoria?
Very bad experience, yeah.
Okay.
But then there was this great neighborhood deli called Otavio, where I grew up. I grew up a block away from it, and I used to fix the guy who owned it, his computer.
Yeah.
And my brother worked there, so I had this amazing affinity for this place. And he approached me and was like, "Hey, I know you buy businesses. Would you want to look at this?" And he said he had an offer from someone else. And I asked him who the person was, and I was like, "Oh, I just don't think that buyer is going to do a good job. They're going to ruin this place." Yeah. And I looked at the P&L and I was like, "Oh, this is actually like a pretty good operation." Yeah. I knew what a bad one looked like because I'd lost all my money and run a really bad pizzeria. And so when I saw it work, I was like, "Oh shit, this is really cool." And so we bought that about 11 years ago. And ever since, I've basically just been taking any profit we make, which is not a ton, but whatever profit we make, and we just buy more kind of institutional Victoria restaurants. Yeah. And the idea is just keep them as is and just protect them.
Totally. Any sports teams?
No.
Would you?
I think it's ego. Yeah. Some people love it, and that's great. Yeah. But for me, it's like, no, I don't. I always find it funny when it's like co-owner, Golden State Warriors, whatever, and it's like with 20 other people or whatever. But it's like I guess there's people that love sports. Like I have a friend, he loves basketball. Yeah. He would really want to do that, and like he'd love it, and it'd be an amazing experience for him. Yeah. But so often it's like these token rich, like uber rich things of like, okay, like super yacht, sports team, totally. 10 houses. Like I just don't derive any value from those things personally. Yeah. I've experimented with them, but it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. I've always, my like, I guess, ego goal is I want to buy a minor league baseball team. Or like a few of them one day, but
then you can be happy.
Then I'll be happy.
The moment you buy it, the moment you sign that,
then I'll be happy.
You'll feel your heart just calm down, and everything will be good.
Yeah, exactly. On the anxiety stuff, how does that show up in the day to day? Like, do you wake up with it and you're like, shit, I got all these customers or emails. Oh man, I'm freaked out, or I got to lay someone off today. I'm like really freaking out.
For a lot of people, when they talk about anxiety, I didn't relate to it because they would say, "Oh my God, I'm replaying this conversation in my head over and over again. What did I say?" It's a lot of social anxiety. And for me, actually, oddly, when I was in conversation or socializing, that would be my least anxious moment. Yeah. My anxiety was much more, I'm forgetting something. I'm letting people down. There's too much. There's just endless things going on. Yeah. I'm getting endless texts and emails and problems and stuff. But then oddly, when things were calm, like let's say my girlfriend's out and I, turn off my computer and I'm just sitting in my house and I want to watch a movie, I would still just feel overwhelmed and looping and irritable. Yeah. And in retrospect, again, ADHD, because the moment I started treating my ADHD, that all went away. Yeah. So I used to be like an 8 out of 10 on the anxiety scale, where I'd be obsessively thinking about all the people I'm laying down and all that stuff, but also what could go wrong. Yeah. So how my business is going to get fucked up, or how I'm going to die of cancer, or whatever it is. That has just volume got turned down.
So like it's like gone.
Yeah.
And you think that's what it's like for people without? Because I deal with anxiety. I don't treat it. But you think that's what it's like for people that have no anxiety?
If you, there's a lot of people. My favorite question is always, do you have seasonal allergies? Mm-hmm. Your nose get clogged? Mm-hmm. You take a Claritin or Reactin, right? How is that different? It's a symptom of something going on in your body. Yeah. And people are so scared of medication that changes your brain. But ironically, when you take an antihistamine, that also changes your brain. Mm-hmm. There's studies that show that it literally changes your mood and your irritability and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I find it very interesting that people will medicate for something that kind of just bothers them a little bit, like a headache or totally. Stuffed nose, but they won't for something that's ruining their life. Yeah. So I don't know.
Maybe I'll look into it.
Yeah, maybe worth it. I was terrified. I was totally terrified of medicating. And it's been awesome. But people have different experiences. Like, go on Reddit and you're going to hear a million stories about how it ruined someone's life.
One thing I did actually that's been game changer, would love your thoughts because I don't know what you do in this arena, is pretty much 2 years ago, and I never was like heavy into it, but it was very casual, like daily, weekly, but I stopped drinking almost 2 years ago. Total game changer. Like completely. And that really ratchets up the anxiety level for me. And I've stopped that, and it's like a much more calm life, not as angry or fierce or sharp elbowed. Do you still drink?
So yeah, I was basically an alcoholic, like functional alcoholic, from like 18 to 27 or so. And I think a lot of it was driven by anxiety because I'd just be so stressed out at work, and then I need to go blow off steam. And I would just drink like 6 drinks a night, 6 nights a week. And I remember I read this book called The Triumph of Experience, which is about the Harvard grant study. So what they did is 100 years ago or something, they took 1,000 men at Harvard and they said, we're going to study you for your entire life. So every year we're going to do mental health, physical health.
Have you written about this?
I might have.
Yeah.
And I read that book, and in the book they talked about alcoholism and how it was one of the biggest signals for misery over a long life. And that what happened was basically people would be functional, and then suddenly they would be, literally it'd be like a switch flips at 60 and they're suddenly drinking Stoli at 9 a.m. And I read that and I was like, fuck, I need to stop drinking. Like it was a big problem for me. And so I stopped, and I was so addicted that it was like I was getting like shakes and anxiety and depression, and it was really hard. But now being off it, I'm shocked.
So you don't drink?
I drink maybe once or twice a year.
Okay.
Like I had a 40th birthday party. Yeah. I want to stay up till 2 a.m. and dance.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to drink. But the cost of it, it's like
totally.
2 or 3 days of not feeling myself.
You kind of have to plan it in advance for that.
Yeah.
Don't make any plans.
Having kids helps, right? Because it's like there's nothing worse than waking up with a hangover when your kid wakes you up at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Or for me, it's like startup. Like you can't. Oh my gosh. Like.
My most successful years running a business, I was an alcoholic.
You were.
That's it. I would get up at 1, get to the office at 2, work all night or work late.
Get up at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
So you'd sleep till 1
p.m.
p.m.
And I'd stay up drinking and partying until 5.
And you just grind on the company.
And I would just grind, and like that's not recommendation, but it was weird. Like that was some of my most productive years.
Interesting. You have me thinking now.
Should start drinking every day. I think that's really good life advice.
There's a you just mentioned them. They're like a neighbor of yours. I don't really drop names and stuff, but they're a neighbor of yours. They mentioned this like longevity book author that they like, and they mentioned that you work with them or what would I forget the name. You know the
Peter Attia?
Yes. Okay. Sorry. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah. Peter Attia. He has a book, but he also has like a program. Are you part of that or in that?
So I did it for a couple of years.
Okay.
And then, so I already had a really great doctor. I went for 2 years and worked with them, and then they stopped having patients.
Okay.
And so I stopped. But no, I mean, I spent a lot of time trying to optimize health and think about that stuff. And I think that's something that's very much worth doing, because I see a lot of people who, they work their faces off and they're unhealthy, and they're like, oh yeah, I got to make all this money so I can enjoy it when I'm 40 or 50 or whatever. But then they're like suffering from cancer or heart disease or something horrible.
Yeah. So the tangibles so far in our chat, no drinking, treat the ADHD / anxiety. What about the sleep and diet?
So sleep, I don't really do anything crazy. I just I treat myself like a baby. Yeah. I remember when I had a baby, when I had my son, there's like this whole thing about like, you want to put them down within a 15-minute sleep window, white noise machine, dark room, cold room, all these things. And I started just treating myself like a baby. So I'm like, it's 9:45. Yeah. That's the moment I go upstairs and I read, and I only read for 15 minutes, and the room's dark and all that stuff. So I'm just very rigorous.
Any melatonin?
So occasionally I will. Yeah. I don't think it's good to do it every night.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do it every night.
I don't travel with it, and I travel a lot. So like,
how much do you take?
5 milligrams.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah. So they've done studies on melatonin, and the optimal amount
multiple nights a week
is 300 micrograms. So that's 0.3 milligrams.
Yeah.
So much smaller than what you're taking. Yeah. Might be worth optimizing.
I might. See, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
The name of this podcast is Make It Click.
This is the dumbest. So one of my friends, Dr. Ashley Mason, she runs the sleep lab at UCSF, and I was having lunch with her, and I asked her what, give me sleep tips, like what you're doing right now. She's like, I was like, what's the craziest sleep tip? And I'm expecting she's going to tell me about some miracle drug or something like that. And she goes, most people sleep with a blanket that's too heavy and too hot. And so the first thing she does with every patient is gets them to get a cotton blanket that's thin by 2, and then have 2 cotton blankets. And I switched that, and it's like, holy fuck, like I'm sleeping. Damn. Why am I sleeping under like a massive, heavy, crazy duvet rug? So there's stupid stuff like that like really works. No, I don't do that. I've got blackout curtains.
Okay. I need it I do the blackout curtains and the eye mask. That's huge. Okay. And the exercise? You're a fit guy? Yeah,
I play a lot of pickleball and tennis, and I lift weights.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. What about the kind of, I guess, big fan? How many of those Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger things do you guys sell?
So because
those are dope, but I want other ones. Like I think a cool thing would be going on and like prompting, hey, like what one can you make me? Like I want Andrew Wilkinson. Like
I hope not. There's so basically like there's this weird phenomenon where like Roman emperors, people make like busts of them or whatever. And so me and Chris made busts of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, just kind of like to put in our office as a reminder of like, think like these guys. And we started a business. We kept having people be like, oh my God, can I buy one of those? And so we started a business, BerkshireNerds.store, I think it is, where we sell these Buffett and Munger bronze busts for like $2,000. I think we've sold like 100 or 200 of them, and it's just like a fun little side business. My assistant, runs it or whatever. But yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
Dope. Maybe a little bit on kind of the changing dynamic of business right now and AI. I think I read something. You're getting up. Do you get up, or are you a morning person?
Yeah, I get up usually around like 6:30.
Okay, that's legit. And I read something like Andrew Wilkinson getting up at 4 a.m. every day to vibe code or something. Claude Code. How are you deploying that, and can it be deployed across all your businesses? How are you leaning in? Are you doing it yourself? You're hiring, or maybe you hired a vibe coder. How's that kind of like rejigging and rethinking everything you're running?
So, the worst part, I love people. I'm very extroverted.
Sure.
But the worst part about business is people. And what I mean by that is, you have an idea of how you want your company to run and, what you want the end game to be.
Totally.
But then in between that, there's all these people you have to convince, and they all have to be reliable and do the things you're paying them to do. And as you know, people are fickle. They're moody. They, are alcoholics. They're narcissists. They're all sorts of stuff.
They resign.
And
they
so
ask for a raise.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to have your vision executed. And I think what's crazy about AI is like now you can just go in Claude Code and brain dump what you want, and magically it appears an hour later. And that is a very cool experience. And so I realized like I love building things, but I don't like managing people. And now I can actually build things without managing people. And so I've been spending like $40,000 a month on Claude credits instead of scaling payroll. I'm not hiring developers. I'm not hiring marketers. I'm just building automations basically. And so I've got a couple businesses now where we're building out OpenClaw agents to run everything. So, a support request comes in, it's answered. If there's a bug, it's fixed. The marketing is managed. The SEO is managed. And so it's like this idea of one person businesses that can do tens or hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue.
And do you think that's legit?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like I go back and forth on that. Like, okay, you're doing 10 million ARR and it's growing, and it's obviously going to hit 25 million ARR in like 18 months. It's growing super fast. There's a bit of revenue concentration where like 2 big companies or customers are going to take you there, and then you're augmenting it with like your mid-market customers or whatever. Don't you need like account managers? Like, don't you need like, let's talk B2B, like a B2B SaaS company. Like, don't you need account managers to like talk to you and like,
Well, yeah,
hey,
not right
like,
now. I don't think that you could build a B2B business like that where you're
like
selling
everything's
to like
automated. It's like
you
the founders doing
yeah, you're
Claude.
selling to Walmart and doing all that stuff.
Exactly.
What I do
Okay.
think is very feasible is like building a business that has a lot of touch points for customer service or sales, like basic sales, or SEO or and basically like anything that can be done behind a keyboard without getting on the phone or video is to me pretty automatable.
Okay.
And I think like you end up becoming this like octopus who's like orchestrating all these agents, and like that becomes where you spend your time as a founder. But I don't know. I don't think it's like some golden age though, because you can do it, but so can everyone else. And so it's like, oh my God, I can build an, amazing piece of software. Well, as soon as you publish your idea, 10 other people are going to copy it. You're charging $10. They're going to start charging $1. Boom, there goes your margin. Totally. And I think the cost of software basically goes to like a small margin over the cost of the tokens to produce it. And the server costs and stuff. So I don't think software is a good business because of that.
So you think like B2B SaaS is, I guess there's that whole, I guess you would say B2B SaaS is I think you said this in a tweet, the new e-commerce. So you wouldn't start a B2B SaaS company?
No, if you think about e-commerce, it's like incredibly low margin. It is incredibly difficult and highly competitive. And the moment you make your product, like you get ripped off by a bunch of Chinese knockoffs or someone pulls something off AliExpress and then competes with you. And I think software has just been so spoiled. Like, we've been able to have 50% margins in software businesses for a long time. And I don't know that continues. I think one reality, you can build anything right now. Let's say that we're spending, I don't know, $2,000 a month on Slack.
Sure.
Is it logical for you as the founder to say, let's build our own internal Slack and just build like our own software? Well, you got to run it on Vercel. You got to fix bugs. You got to deal with downtime. Is it worth having a tool that's so critical to your business be something that you have to maintain? I think at some scale, if you're Walmart, maybe it makes sense to build your own tools.
Sure.
But there's definitely still an opportunity for a lot of these products to be really good. But I think it just goes down to competition. Like restaurants are not a good business, not because selling food is bad. It's hard to produce good food, but it's because there's endless competition, and competition equals low margins. Like if you're the only pizza restaurant in town, you can charge $50 for a pizza.
Sure.
If you're not, you can charge $22 or whatever the going rate is. And if you charge $50, people will tell you to go fuck yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah, interesting. And then I would say, what's your take on like, so that's SaaS, that's e-commerce. What's your take on like marketplaces?
Well, I think it depends on what you're selling, right? So most marketplaces are people. So you're booking, a TaskRabbit or Instacart or whatever. I think those are probably fine for the time being. I think anything where I call them airport businesses, anything where people congregate, right? In an airport, people congregate, and then you have all these stalls. So let's say you're in a lobby, people are forced to go to the lobby because they want to get on the plane. So they're sitting there. Now you have a bunch of stores. You can put a duty free in, you can put a hot dog stand, you can put a bookstore, whatever. You can monetize that group. And you have this advantage because there's no other airports, right? And I think marketplaces are like that. If you have a house you want to put on Airbnb, not some other one because no one's there, right? And so I think that's still a hugely valuable thing, but it depends on what the shops sell. And so some marketplaces will be phenomenal still, and others are just totally fucked.
On the kind of day-to-day unlocks. So you mentioned the health unlock, I mentioned mine, like no drinking. You mentioned one, treating ADHD. On the AI productivity unlock, for instance, like Claude has all these connectors. You can connect it with granola. You can connect it with tons of them. Well, are there any kind of like 2 or 3 hacks that you've done that it's just like, oh my gosh, how was I living before I did that? Like for me, it's like, how was I living before Claude was connected to my Gmail? Like that's insane. Like it just totally unlocked my life. Are there any items like that for you?
Tons. I mean, one of the most valuable ones has been I just record every single meeting, whether it's in person or on Zoom or whatever. And then I use Fireflies because it has a good API. And then I have my OpenClaw agent ingest all that into a vector database. So it just has full context about all my projects at any given time.
Yeah.
And then it's able to actually take next actions and keep me accountable. So for example, if you and I had coffee and I said, oh, I'll send you that book. It'll remind me later, oh, do you want me to send Willson that book?
Yeah.
And then it'll go into, it has my credit card information, my Amazon, and it can order it for you or whatever. So I found that proactive actions like that just save me so much energy, because for me, I still have ADHD. It's not like the pill makes all that go away.
Totally.
And so I still struggle with remembering, what did I say I was going to do or whatever. And so it just keeps me on track. And I've got like 20 different automations doing all sorts of different things. One of the most valuable ones, you don't have kids, but for your listeners that do have kids, my kids' school send like, no joke, like 5 to 10 emails every day. Like there's just so, there's a field trip on Thursday and you need to pack a lunch, and your son is in this program and you
game
need
over
this.
For me, man. That's not my vibe.
Exactly. And so I really struggled. I really, really struggled with that. And the boys would get upset because I've sent them to school without the packed lunch. Two boys. And so I made an agent that ingests all those emails, and it just figures out what needs to go on my calendar, and it puts on my calendar with notes and stuff. Yeah. And that is such a dumb automation, but it's just changed my life. The other one I love is every morning I wake up and I get sent 4 outfits. Yeah. So it figures out, I've trained it on my entire wardrobe.
Okay. And you do that by taking pictures or just telling me?
I just took photos and then I built out a big spreadsheet or whatever. And then it just says like, hey, it's 12 degrees today and I know this is what's on your calendar. Here's 4 outfit options. And then it renders an image of what I would look like wearing them.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Nice.
So that's, I don't know, just stuff like that I love.
And when's the first time you look at a screen in the morning?
Yeah, usually first thing, honestly. I used to read a book or meditate or whatever, but as soon as Claude Code came out, I just feel like I'm so in it. The moment I wake up, I want to go to the slot machine and play.
Yeah. So you wake up, no shower or whatever, and you go straight to the computer before coffee and stuff?
I let my dog out. I go, make a coffee, all that stuff. But then I immediately am on Claude Code.
Don't. Yeah. One thing actually I've done is, do you have an office? Like, do you go into an office?
I have one, but I don't really go in. I go to a cafe most of the time.
Okay, nice. So what I do is, I'm a big office guy. I just like kind of office and separating it and whatever. But I'm on airplane mode from wake up, shower, airplane mode, all the way get into the office.
Wow.
And then I turn it on. And that's been huge for me.
That's sweet.
Huge. And it's a little bit of like a full embrace. It's like, okay, now I'm like logging on for the day. And there's like 3 apps I look at first, email and calendar. And it's like, boom, here we go. So I'm kind of sussing out what that looks like. Why I ask is because I'd like to do the wardrobe thing, but I would have to kind of look at a screen, or else I'd be naked for the whole day. So
not
I have
optimal.
Yeah, exactly. On the kind of overall next 10, 20 years, do you ever see yourself like logging off? I saw something. This was all this, by the way. I prepped a bit of prompts for our chat, but like I've kind of read or followed you along through your journey. So this was like 2 years ago. I probably saw this. So this wasn't like in prep because I'm meeting you today, but it was kind of, you were saying, hey, I interviewed this guy and we talked about like shutting down businesses. You had like a really insightful, I think it was the 36 Signal guy. But anyways, do you think you'll ever kind of just like go off the grid? Like kill Twitter, just kind of totally go off the grid and like zen out?
Well, I mean, I've kind of been doing that for the last...
But you got the email marketing going. You got the...
Yeah, but it's funny because it's not email marketing, because it's like, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as My friend Nick Gray has this thing he calls Nick's Friends newsletter.
Okay.
Basically, if he emails with you, you just get auto subscribed to it, and he just talks about whatever he's thinking about. There's no ads. It's just him being like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. I started doing this cool, started doing this cool new form of exercise. I found the perfect shoes, whatever." And I just loved that. And so after I wrote the book, I was really craving writing still. And so I just did the exact same thing. So anyone that emails me, I auto subscribe them. Other people can subscribe too. And I'll just write about whatever I'm thinking about. And it scratches an itch for me, and I love it. But it's been a really interesting method for keeping up with people. Like you and I have not had coffee for 8 years, and yet pretty much everything I've been up to. And it's like this parasocial relationship where people are totally up to date with you, even though you're not out there getting coffee and meeting people and going to conferences or whatever. And so for me, I just love, like, it increases my opportunity surface area where people think of me and they go, "Oh, you should come to this cool thing." Or "Hey, we have this company to sell you," or whatever. I do have periods where I go dark, but I go dark mostly from things that create controversy or negativity. So for example, like I found I actually really don't enjoy Twitter. I don't like that, you say something and then you just get a million trolls posting bullshit, and half of them are bots and all this stuff. I'd way rather just have a one-to-one thing where I put out an email, and if someone emails me back, that's great. And with podcasts, I'll kind of do them at random and then not do them for a while.
Like you host.
No, just like someone interviewing me, something random like this. But I have been enjoying for the last couple of years being a lot quieter. I think like doing the book, going public, like there's a lot of ego tied up in that of wanting to get, "Hey, everyone, look at me and look, I did this thing." And I think having the experience of doing that and realizing, oh, I still feel all the things I feel, right? As we talked about before, was like, okay, I don't need to do all those things. And what I really need to focus on is, who are my 5 best friends? What's my community? Am I a good dad? Like, it's very basic stuff. So that's where I'm focusing my efforts outside of the business, is just like being quiet and doing those things.
And what's the kind of the day-to-day, like not a perfect day. We all have like this kind of perfect day if I could have, but what's kind of the day-to-day for you right now? Because like you are at the end of the day, co-CEO, right?
No, Chris? I'm not. No,
you guys stepped down. You guys stepped down
about 2 years ago.
Sorry, and then Constellation guy,
Jordan.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. And he's in Toronto.
Yeah, Jordan runs the business day to day, and then Chris and I are, we are making a lot of the calls behind the scenes in terms of, are we going to buy a business or not, or what's the next strategic milestone, or we're talking to founders or that sort of thing. A lot of what we do is just storytell and set the culture and stuff.
And what's the day? Then what does that look like day to day? Are you in meetings? A couple calls?
I don't do any meetings or anything.
No Zoom fatigue.
Other than I don't do Zooms. I basically have one weekly meeting for Tiny, and I have one weekly meeting for Folly, my family office. And otherwise, I am a free agent. And if I'm having coffee with someone or doing a podcast or whatever, it's just because I want to. Which has been awesome. I can't say that for the last 20 years. This is a new phenomenon.
Dope.
And it feels great.
Dope, man. That's awesome. And that's like the last couple years or last year?
Last 2 years, yeah.
Awesome. Congrats. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh yeah, of course.
This is awesome, man. Really appreciate it. I'm sincerely a big fan of yours.
Thank you. I
mean that. And I looked up, what was it? Parasocial?
Parasocial relationships.
I've never known what that is, but I guess that's what this has been.
Well, it's like we haven't talked in person.
8 years. I looked.
In 8 years. Yeah. But you're somehow aware of the stuff I've been up to.
For sure.
And so in your mind, you have a relationship with me.
Yeah.
But I haven't talked to you.
Yeah.
Right. There's an interesting value of that.
Yeah. No, and that's So the more parasocial, the better.
As long as it's not like a stalker who believes that,
Do you have security?
You've put a radio in their brain or something. I take precautions or whatever to.
Yeah. I don't.
I had a guy. I told this story in the book, but I had a guy show up at my house, and it really freaked me out. And I've had a few weird things like that. And that, again, it goes back to like be careful what you wish for, right?
Totally.
Because like, do I like it when I go to a conference and all the nerds are like, hey, it's great to meet you, whatever.
Yeah.
I love that. But then the cost of that is a crazy person showing up at my house.
Yeah. Wacko. That's for the next pod.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man. Really
you can
appreciate
show
it.
up at random. Yeah.
Exactly.
With a Bowie knife. Yeah.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
Cool, man. Thanks. Really
Sweet.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having
so
me.
much.
This is great.